Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Madison, good to see you again. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great. I think that was like 2 years ago, right? Everything seems like it's been such a long time ago.
I can't keep track of time anymore. I don't know when anything is happening. I just exist.
Absolutely. I mean, a project like this that is so kind of dynamic and complex, and there's so much kind of happening from a kind of viewer perspective with like the visual effects and everything. What's it like kind of seeing the first scripts for a movie like this? Like, I can't even imagine what's going through your mind.
Yeah, I mean, especially for me, I had never heard of Saint Seiya, Knights of the Zodiac ever in my life. And then after diving into some research, I very quickly discovered that it just never really hit in the United States like it did pretty much everywhere else in the entire world. So I had a lot of research to do.
Yep.
I did jump into the script. The one nice thing about the script, though, was it's the beginning, right? It starts with the basics. You get introduced to the main characters, and then I think the goal is, if people love it, is we set it up to introduce so many more characters. So it's a great introduction to what the universe is, but it's a lot. I'm not going to lie. Like, when I read it for the first time, I was like, these are a lot of crazy words. This is a lot of exposition. But I mean, it's really fun to dive in and sort of jump into this crazy universe that has been discovered. Like, what was it, 30 years ago?
It's big scale. Like, it's a big scale. Just everything, just you see even like the poster of it.
It's a cool poster, right?
No, it's crazy. But it's not the first time that you've kind of worked on a project where there is kind of original source material. Like, you look at, like, I know you did last summer at Jumanji and everything.
Yeah.
Do you engage a lot with the source material? Does it really depend on the project specifically?
It's so funny. My team keeps calling me the sequel queen, and I'm like, I would love to do something original for once, but somehow I keep ending up in like these reboots. But it's also, it's a sign of the times. That's what makes money. It's what people want to see. But sorry, what was the question? I literally
I'm just saying, like, does it depend? Is, like, when you're working on something that has original source material, do you like engage a lot with it, or does it depend on the project? It depends on kind of what you said about Knights of the Zodiac, the research. Maybe you have to do a little bit more. Does it depend on the project?
I feel like it totally depends. Like, I know what you did last summer. We were completely different characters. I mean, they really just took the name, really, and just sort of like a mystery murderer and sort of went off of that. Where this, we definitely stick to, it's different, right? Any trick with like a live action is you want it to be fresh and new, but also stay true to what was originally created before. So I, at least, and Athena, she's such a beloved character by so many people around the world. So I felt this responsibility to really bring the essence of who she was in the anime, in the manga, and bring that with us, but then sort of like build on that and create something new. So this specifically, I did as much research as I possibly could. We didn't have a lot of time, but we didn't have 30 years worth of research, but in about 2 weeks, we did as much as we could.
And the complexity of a lot of these characters, like Athena specifically in this film, there's so much kind of happening, and it's just kind of like, it feels sometimes like a roller coaster a little bit that you can't escape, where there's so many kind of ups and downs and like turns and everything. Do you feel like, in terms of the filming of this movie, like the journey of filming this movie, Madison, is there a time where you really kind of feel like you have a grasp of Athena and you kind of know everything about this character? Or do you feel like throughout the whole time making this movie, you were like learning more things about this character?
Well, the hardest thing with this was we started with the end, which is always, I always go back and forth between like what I enjoy more, because there is something nice about starting with the end, because it's sort of like a Band-Aid. You rip it off. The rest feels so easy because you just start with the biggest material you have.
Yeah.
But with this, it was, I always, sometimes, I don't know if it's subconscious or what, but I always find myself parallel with characters that I dive into. And so Sienna is very much dealing with this sort of like imposter syndrome of this huge responsibility that she has and not knowing if she can do it. So, I mean, there were definitely times where I was like, can I play this goddess? I don't know. Like, this is a big role and it's a huge character that so many people love. And there's, you always want to do it for the fans. You want to give them the best performance that you can for them, because to be honest, we wouldn't be making this if it wasn't for them, you know, it wouldn't exist. So I don't know. There's like it's a little bit of both, but I think with this specifically, we definitely were figuring it out a little bit on the way, just because we started with the end. So you sort of go backwards.
I love hearing things like that, because I love my favorite thing about doing interviews is like there's all like nothing is like the same in terms of
never is.
And it's so interesting to me. If you look at a lot of like your past work, like your body of work, I think the coolest thing that comes to mind is like there are a lot of different like projects genre wise, but a lot of the characters you've played are very different. And I think that's one of the coolest things, right? Is that something that I'm sure you were like, you go where the opportunities go and everything, but it's pretty cool to be able to play all these different characters, right?
Yeah, I get so bored. I like have to switch it up, or else, you know, I remember when I first did Jumanji, which very much changed my life, changed my career, but I had such a hard time getting in rooms for anyone. They just didn't believe I could do anything. You know, I was like the blonde bimbo with a phone in my hand, and like that was all really people saw me as. So I think I made it that year, especially. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to prove myself. I need to do something that's completely opposite of this character. I love Bethany, but you know, and so I've always liked to challenge, and I like to surprise people, and I like to do the role that no one thinks I can do.
I know you were like, I'm gonna play two characters. I know what you did last summer.
That one was a lot. But you know.
No, for sure. No, it's so that. And the thing is, when I watched that one, I went in so fresh, where like I watched it like before like trailers came out and everything. So I had I didn't even realize in the beginning that you were playing two characters. I was like, whoa, like this is
crazy. And it was hard too. Like I remember with that, there was such a fine line they were dealing with, because they were dealing with the whole switch of the two characters, and you don't dies, and it's like you don't want it to be obvious, but it was just like, oh my God, I was losing my mind the whole time of how much to push and pull. But like those are fun. It's like actor candy, you know?
Yeah, but that whodunit kind of genre, I feel like it's crazy, Madison, because it's always been around. Like those movies and shows have always been around. Do you know what I mean? But there's been this like surge of like popularity with that type of content. Like people love those whodunits, you know what I mean? But it's not like they're new. Like,
no, it's just something that no one will ever get tired of. Like even like going back to Nights of Zodiac, you know, the theme of it is it's self-love, it's self-discovery, and it's love versus evil. And it's like, you know, that story will never get old, no matter how many different crazy characters are in them. You know, it's in Harry Potter, it's freaking it's all of them, you know, and then that theme will just never die.
Well, also to add to that, and I think because you know it's going to be in theaters May 12th. I mean, it's crazy. It comes out next week. It's I can't even imagine like what's going through your mind that like people are going to be able to see it in theaters, because this is the like weekend night, Saturday night popcorn worthy movie. Like this is what it's all about. This is why you do what you do. You know what I mean? Like,
God, yeah. I mean, I'll never forget. It's so funny. I had a goal for myself when I started, because I fell in love with theater. That was all. I mean, love television, but theater was always where I was like, I went to the theater as a kid, and I was like, I want to be on the big screen. And I made a goal for myself. I was like, I just need to have like one line in something by the time I that was my goal for myself. And then Jumanji came, and I was like, okay, great. I think I was 19 at the time, and I hit my goal a little early, which but yeah, I love the theater, and I'm so glad people are starting to go back. And you know, the more people show up and go, the more movies we're going to be able to make to bring to the theater. And it's such a beautiful place. So I'm very happy that we will be there and people can go see it. And it's fun. It's like it's a fun family movie.
It is.
Love. I mean,
the effects are amazing. Is that still kind of an interesting thing? I mean, you dealt with that on Jumanji a little bit too, where there's like a lot of things that get put in afterwards and post and everything. Did you get used to that a little bit at Nights of the Zodiac, knowing that you kind of dealt with that a little bit with Jumanji? Because you have to pretend like certain things are there sometimes, and just a green screen or someone, I don't know, throwing a tennis ball at you, but then it's like a whole...
what would you do if someone said, okay, now pretend you're getting sucked into a video game? What would you do? Like, you know, like, it's weird. We do weird things. Sometimes we're just like on set and we just have to laugh at each other because we're like, this is so ridiculous. But like, you know, the effects and it looks great. But I don't know. I think it's fine. My favorite part of the job is playing pretend, and I love The bigger the better for me. I love the fantasy aspect. I love the CGI. I mean, this whole film we did on a green screen and like in tracking suits. So like
Yeah.
you put a lot of faith in your director, and you just, because we can't see anything, and you just really hope that they have like a strong vision of where they want to take it. But they did a great job. And I will say the best thing about all of this was working with Andy Chang, who did all of our stunts, because I think our stunts are like a standout part of this
Totally.
film.
Yeah.
Like the coolest guy. I mean, that guy is like, his track record of all the things that he's worked on, he's a pro. He's so cool. So
No, yeah.
they sort of come together and they make a great movie.
May 12th in theaters, and that's the Zodiac. Madison, it's so great catching up. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.